Welcome to the Chicago Bears podcast perspective. I wanted to do a little video because huge announcements came out that Mitchell Trubisky will be starting Monday night. This is huge. Now I predicted him starting later in the year. I kind of felt that we would be a little bit more competitive. And think about it. If we had a decent quarterback, if we had Brian Hoyer of last year, there's a chance that we could be 2-2. Probably 3-1, maybe. And then that's a domino effect across the board. Then who's to say if the offense is up there more, we'd had less injuries, yada, yada, yada. You could say whatever, or you could have different injuries. But Mike Glennon, what I see out of him is he is like Jay Cutler. And let me explain why. He throws interceptions on short passes. Jay Cutler throws interceptions on deep passes. But to be fair about both Jay and Mike, I feel in the red zone, that's where they make their money. If you're within that 20-yard line, look at the drop passes that happened to Glennon against Atlanta. We would have won that game. So in the red zone, I think that's where Jay Cutler and Mike Glennon shine, and that might be why they still get chances to be quarterbacks in this league. Mike Glennon, people want to talk about the money. He was going to make a decent amount of money as a backup anyway. He was rated as the top backup available. I was shocked about how bad he played. But that also could have easily been a Chicago thing, guys. It's not new. Unless we have an elite quarterback, we've always suffered in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So, Mitchell Trubisky, here's my worries. He's going to come in, we're going to win some games. Usually, sometimes when you have a new quarterback come in, there's no footage on him. There's no game plan footage, so people really don't know how to handle him. After a couple of games, though, he's going to wind up getting sacked a lot. He's going to wind up having some issues. I'm not going to give up on the guy just on interceptions alone. Now, next year, if he comes in, we got healthy wide receivers, better wide receivers, stuff like that rolling, maybe even a better head coach, and he starts tanking, then we have cause and concern. But I think Mitchell Trubisky is going to be a good quarterback. I do think what I envision Mitchell Trubisky being is probably just a little bit better than Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco in his prime. I didn't think Joe Flacco was worth all the money that he got just because of that Super Bowl. But, hey, the guy did win a Super Bowl. I think money and who you are as a person has a lot to do with how you win, too. Now, with that being said, we're going to come in and win some games. That bothers me. That bothers me because this will knock us out of a top 5 draft pick. So what's important? Getting that top 5, getting that other player that we need for Mitchell Trubisky. I do feel that that's important. I think that with us needing so many things, even maybe possibly on defense, but I know we need a wide receiver. It would be great to have a Julius Jones top wide receiver on the other side of Cameron Meredith. Now, I like Wright and Wheaton. There's your 4. But we need a young guy 5th to come in and develop as well. But we do need a number 1. I think if Meredith is healthy, maybe that number 5 next year will be Kevin White. I do feel that they're going to keep him another year. Why not? Why not? Just get us a number 1 with all that we have, and then you're talking about a different. If Meredith gets hurt, then hey, we still got the number 1. We still got people, and we got great running backs. Maybe draft a 3rd string running back. I still feel, even with the offense that we have today, if we have a lights out defense, that's Chicago Bears football anyway. That's how I'd like to see us perform and go forward. My thoughts on coaching. Don't like Dal Loggins. Hey, Bill Belichick came from the Cleveland Browns, but who else come from the Cleveland Browns that has done worth a damn? I do think it's desperately important to keep a guy like Vic Fangio, and that's who I want to maintain no matter what. Now, here's my thoughts on Fox. Anybody that's watched the other podcast knows that I do not like Fox. He's got 6 winning seasons out of 16 years. Not good. He's been fired multiple times. John Elway let him go. They go and win a Super Bowl. Okay? That was not because of Fox. I had people say, oh, they won the Super Bowl next year because of Fox. No, it wasn't. It's because Kubiak. Kubiak fit a mold in that system. John Fox didn't. John Fox, look how unprepared at times we are. And if we didn't start Mitchell Trubisky, it's because we were going to lose the locker room. I think we were forced to start Mitch. Glennon played so bad, we were forced to start Mitch instead of something maybe at the end of the year. So I'm torn. I don't want to come in and win 6 games, 7 games, and not get a good draft pick, but I don't want to look like a fool. So I would have been happy with Mark Sanchez being the next quarterback up while Mitch trains. I think Fox is just trying to save his job. I'm just not big on John Fox. And here's where I am. I know I said this, but here's where I'm at with John Fox. If there's no one available next year that is better than John Fox, me as a GM, if I had a head coach and then the next year there wasn't a better head coach, I'd just probably keep John Fox. Me as a GM, if I changed coaches, but then one came available that was a Bill Belichick, or I would take Jim Harbaugh. Can you imagine how those stands would pop having Jim Harbaugh, a former first-round pick of the Chicago Bears? I think he was a first-round pick of the Chicago Bears. I know he was a pick of the Chicago Bears. He was one of my favorite growing up as a kid. God, having that with Mitchell Trubisky, Vic Fangio, I'd be fine with Vic Fangio as a head coach as long as we had a good offensive coordinator. Now, offensive coordinators. You know who I would take as an offensive coordinator? Brett Favre, Peyton Manning. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. But can you imagine how interesting 2 games a year would be with those guys? Football intelligence. Manning was a coach on the field. Favre is a guy that everybody gets behind and believes, and he's smart and intelligent. He's coaching right now. I like that. I like that better than a Dowell Loggins. Who? Dowell who? Been fired from 2 teams. Who? We got a guy that runs, I don't want to say he runs like Mariota, but I want to say that he's in that mold of a mobile quarterback. Tennessee Titans didn't keep Loggins. So, I don't know, guys. I just feel that you should fire no matter who you have as head coach. If the guy becomes available, you get him. I don't care what you do. I don't care if that coach is the coach 1 year. You get him. I'd be fine with a Josh McDaniels as long as he wants Vic Fangio. Yes, Josh McDaniels I'd be fine with. I don't know. I still want a Chicago Bears guy. I want a guy that when I turn on the TV, I'm like, man, we got Vic Fangio. We got Jim Harbaugh. They're paying that extra money to get Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh would be on fire because that's where he come from. He even reported saying that it would be his dream job. So let's do that. So I'm worried about the draft picks. I'm worried about Mitchell Trubisky coming in and actually elevating us. But other than that, at the same time, if it happens, it happens, guys. It's done now. Mark Sanchez don't even suit up. He's on the sidelines with a clipboard. He'll be a coach one day. Maybe a QB coach. I don't know. I don't know if he'll be our QB coach. But I'm just saying that's kind of what's happening in his career and his life at the time. So what do you think? How do you feel about Mitch Trubisky? I know I'm excited. I took some time off work. I work 3rd shift. I took time off work to watch the game Monday night. Even though I'm watching us probably ruin draft picks, I'm still excited. I'm very, very happy and anxious to see Mitchell get out there and play lights out on a Monday night. And I'm excited as a Chicago Bear fan for us to finally have a quarterback. First-round pick guy. The last guy we had was Rex Grossman, and I do feel that he would have been great if he had his legs. I remember him injuring his knee. I think he was running in for a touchdown on Minnesota Vikings. He got hurt 3 years in a row, guys. That's 3 years of him not being able to stand. That does a lot. Say what you want about Rex Grossman. But he was hot and cold. No different than Jay Cutler. But Rex Grossman had a winning record against Green Bay. In my opinion, you are measured by, first off, you're measured by 2 things. How good you are within your division and how good you are against the number 1 team in the NFL. we're not competing against the Browns. We're not competing against bottom feeder teams. That's where it starts. And if we're not that good, then we got to keep making changes, and we still got to keep progressing. And then we got to be honest with ourselves and looking at our paper and being like, okay, if we want to win, that's how we got to answer ourselves. And even the Patriots struggling today, not every year is going to be a home run, especially after you win a Super Bowl. You don't get the high draft picks. Some of your players are so expensive, but they're not out, not with Tom Brady. And if they have a losing year this year, guarantee Robert Kraft is going to be all about dipping into that pocket to help them get whatever they need for the last couple of years of the Brady-Belichick era. I see both of those guys going out at the same time. There might even be talk Josh McDaniels takes over the team. Just stay as an offensive coordinator. Blah, 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 blah. I'm sure there's talks about that. I'm sure that organization just isn't going to fall. It's going to be interesting, though, with Garoppolo. I don't see them paying too high-paid quarterbacks. But at the system of Josh McDaniels, they've been winning with other quarterbacks. They just need a guy that's going to make them elite. Anyways, this is not a Patriots podcast. This is a Chicago Bears perspective podcast. So let me know what can make this better. I don't want to be like the Bears Brothers podcast. And if you haven't been watching theirs podcast, they're great. They're meticulous. They go over stats and stuff like that, and I think that's great. I like talking, theorizing, and stuff like that just to bring something different to the table. Because when I do podcasts, I do all podcasts. So I listen to this and Bill Schwartzky's podcast, which I'm okay with. It's always a yeah. It's those kind of guys. And I don't watch baseball, but I am a White Sox Cubs fan. Not as much a Cubs fan anymore, because they're winning and everybody likes them. And I used to watch WGN as a kid in Tennessee. I'm from Tennessee. And always respected the Cubs. Always liked Sammy Sosa. So I don't know why I just resonate with Chicago sports teams, but I bleed Chicago. And no matter who is our coach, even though we have probably the worst coach that we could get, a coach that I'm like, God, I hope John Fox is never in a Chicago. And we get John Fox. I'm still a Bears fan. I don't care who we have in Chicago, that team and those colors, that's my team. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the draft. Should we lose? I mean, I kind of think with Mitch, we're at the point where we want to burn and win. One more thing. Glennon lost his job because what's the one thing in Chicago you don't do? You get your ass handed to you by Green Bay. You can lose 14 games. As long as you win the 2 games against Green Bay by dominant style or lose by a last second whatever, I felt that done it. That done it with Mike Glennon. If we were combative and he threw actual non-garbage time yards and touchdowns against Green Bay and we lost by a touchdown or a field goal, you're talking a different ball game. Mitchell Trubisky would not be starting. But to be embarrassed Thursday Night Football in front of 16 million people, and then you got people not wanting to go to the show, the games. So if they're wanting to please the fans, beg Jim Harbaugh. Virginia, George, better get on your knees and get him in there. I guarantee by having him alone, win or lose, you can have a 6-winning game season with Jim Harbaugh. It's going to pack that stands. I mean, I like Mike Singletary. You know, he kind of seemed crazy, but I just want to see some Chicago Bears love. I kind of want this organization to do that for us as fans and focus on Green Bay, because guess what? If you're good enough to beat Green Bay, you're going to be pretty damn good at stopping elite quarterbacks. Anyway, comment down below, like, subscribe. I try to do 1 or 2 of these a week. If somebody wants to join in and be a partner and us grow this Chicago Bears podcast so we can have multiple podcasts. So I highly recommend Bill Schwartzky's, I think's the name of it. That's an okay one. It's my least favorite one, but I still like it. I'm not a hater because I listen every week. The Bears Brothers, which is probably my favorite. Then there's this other show. I don't know if you guys seen Anthony Adams, Lance Briggs, and Alex Brown. It's called Two Guys and a Pro Bowler on the Chicago Bears YouTube channel. It's awesome. It's about 30 minutes long. They talk about stuff behind the scenes in Chicago. They talk about the bus rides, what they used to do on the sidelines, their mentalities going into the game. They're real funny. They're great. That actually is my podcast. But they don't break down the games like the Bears Brothers. So what I'm trying to get at is you just get different flavors of these podcasts. And I try to be mine just off the cuff, more of a personality of thoughts, and try to share thoughts with people. And that's why it's called The Perspective. I don't want to, oh, he was 4 for 3 on third down, blah, blah. I don't want to be that. I'm not against it. But right now, just trying to add a different flavor in the whole and sponsor those other channels, which they don't know about me other than I'm the guy that probably tweets them on Twitter on game day. But I support them, so you support them. If you enjoy the Chicago Bears, if you enjoy the podcast, check out those 3 channels. You'll love them. I don't think there's any other Bears podcasts than others, so it's us 4. And I'm sure there's probably a couple of smaller podcasts like mine, but I haven't seen them. And there is like MVP podcasts, which they'll talk about a little bit of everything. And I kind of do that, but I try to just focus on Chicago. All right, guys, I am out.